Hi everybody. Today I want to talk about a few things that we can do to make it easier for you to use the clicker. The clicker is such an important thing. We can use a marker word and the clicker becomes a marker, but the clicker is very precise. We have a tendency when we're working with our dogs to let the inflections of our voice, our tone of our voice, it changes, right? We get excited or we weren't so impressed with that particular move. So, a lot of people use the word yes as a marker. So, when our dog does something that we really like, we might go, yes! When the dog does something we don't like, yes. And sometimes it's yes, sometimes it's yep. So we're constantly changing the way that we say things. A mouth click could work if you're really consistent with being able to do that. But I really like the clicker because it's really precise. It's the same every time. It's precision. And we can really mark really specific behaviors. And in clicker training or any kind of training, your timing is what makes all the difference. So those of you that's had a hard time in the past, we can improve your timing and your training's going to go boom. You're going to be amazed in these first couple of weeks at how much you're getting just out of simple behaviors and doing these simple things with your dogs. And I know a lot of you are way past the point of this, but I want to start at a place and put everybody on the same page. Excuse me, my throat's a little dry today. So one thing that makes clicker training easier for you and managing the clicker is to go to Home Depot. Get yourself one of these little wrist coils. These have been by far the best ones I can find. They hold their shape and they don't get loose on your wrist. If you drop your clicker, it doesn't matter. You can pick it right back up. Doesn't interrupt your training. You don't have to bend over to get it. It's always here. Mine is always on my wrist because I train dogs all day. And lots of times I forget it's there, and it's really funny how it becomes a second nature to click decisions. I've clicked myself in the grocery store for picking the better cereal instead of picking my favorite sugary Cocoa Pebbles, okay? So I was embarrassed, and I looked around to make sure anybody wasn't around, that there wasn't anybody around to see me do it. So the clicker becomes second nature after you've practiced a little bit. And someone had mentioned in the thread about having a hard time handling the clicker and the leash. I get it. It's cumbersome at first and it's a little bit of a challenge, but after you get used to it, it really does become second nature even with the leash. So we have our clicker. It's on our wristband. We take our leash. Unless I'm working with a reactive dog, my leash tends to look something like this in my hand. I always have a good grip, and I can have a loose leash that way. So I take my clicker and I place it right over the top of my leash. So now we have this thing where we just have a little wad of stuff in our hand, but it feels actually pretty comfortable and easy. So play around with this, see how it feels. Play around with how you hold the leash. Maybe you want to adjust it a little bit, but this is a really great thing to do. So now I am going to attempt to see if I can adjust the camera just a little bit. I don't know if you'll be able to see me fully, but I'm going to attempt to show you a little game to help you. Like I said, put your dogs out of the room. We don't want your dogs to see this, but the name of the game here is when you drop the ball hits the ground, click. So you're going to improve your timing. Alright? Another game you can play, toss the ball up, click when it's high. And I'm not so good at catching it while I'm trying to watch myself stay in frame. Anyway, you get the idea. The other thing, it's a good game to play while you're watching TV. It's Sunday. I'm lounging in my sweats and trying to be comfortable and relaxed. While you're watching TV, when a commercial comes on, click. When the commercial goes off, click. When your show comes back on, click. So all these times that you're practicing this, you're building muscle memory in your brain with the clicker. So when it comes time to work with your dog, you're going to have a new set of confidence to work with, right? Um, so practice that. Another little thing I want to say is every single time you make this click, you follow with a treat. It doesn't matter if you make a mistake. We can outnumber good clicks with bad over top of bad clicks. I can't spit it out. So if you make a mistake, still give your dog a treat. This is so important. All this is classical conditioning. So if you think about Pavlov's dogs, and we go back to the point where Pavlov rang the bell, the dogs had been fed. Pavlov rang the bell, the dogs were fed. And pretty soon the dogs would hear the bell and they would salivate, right? So that's classical conditioning. We pair two things together, and in the end, we get a really strong reinforced marker. And the marker marks the behavior. So when your dog hears this click, they start to catch on really fast, especially after we've done a few exercises. That I hear that click, I'm doing something right. Where was my body? What was I doing? This is also used in gymnastics and teaching people to fly a plane. It really makes your brain realize what you were doing and what position you were in that very second. You can